Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mr. DiLoretto.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Ms. Kurthoff. Here. Mr. Metcalf. Mr. Paul.
Here.
All members of council are here and accounted for with the exception of Mr. Metcalf.
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion to excuse Mr. Metcalf from tonight's proceedings.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that Mr. Metcalf be excused from tonight's council meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Bill Magna.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. Kurthoff.
Aye.
Mr. Paul.
Aye.
So moved. Mr. Metcalf will be excused from tonight's council meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to bring forth legislation that will be considered by City Council at a future date. With that, we'll start off with Mr. Bill Magna.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. Mr. Davis?
Yes, Your Honor, I have 4 pieces of legislation this evening coming out of the Finance Committee. Number 1, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-75, the existing table of organization of the City of Steubenville, and declaring an emergency. And the reason, ladies and gentlemen, that we're declaring an emergency on this one is this all has to do with the summer help and the way they're paid and the way our ordinance reads right now. All we want to do is get the words of minimum wage in there, okay? Because right now it doesn't read that way. The state auditor's office believes that we have to have that in there. And this way, if we can pass this as an emergency, we wouldn't have any problem. And it comes from the state auditor asking us to pass it as an emergency. We wouldn't have an issue with getting everything running, the summer food program in the pool, and any other summer help that we may have to have. That's the reason for emergency. Second piece of legislation this evening is an ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-16 and adopting the indirect cost allocation plan of the City of Steubenville. Number 3, an ordinance amending sections 191.03 and 191.04 of the codified ordinances of the City of Steubenville, Ohio, by enacting the wage and profit tax of the City of Steubenville, Ohio, from 2% to 2 2.5%, 2.25%, for a 5-year period, allocating the additional 2.5% of the 1% increase to be used as follows: to fund police and services to be placed on the ballot on general election on November 3rd, 2015, for a vote by the people upon said ordinance authorizing the Board of Education of Jefferson County, Ohio, to conduct said election. Number 4, a resolution submitting the question of enacting a 2.5% municipal income tax levy for a 5-year period to the electors of the City of Steubenville, Ohio, for their approval or rejection at a general election to be held within the City of Steubenville on November 3rd, 2015, such levy being for the purpose of funding police and fire services. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We'll continue on sunshine of legislation to Mr. D'Oretto.
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. D'Oretto. Mr. Johnson?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Kurthoff?
Yes, Your Honor, I have 2. One piece sunshining up under economic development, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager and mayor to sign a conveyance agreement with Jefferson County Port Authority. And the second one up under the utility committees, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program for one IBAC mainline camera system. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Kurthoff.
What is that? Is that IBAC?
Excuse me?
I thought I pronounced it wrong.
Okay.
Okay, all right, that's it.
We'll continue on to Mr. Paul.
I have nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. I believe that will conclude the sunshining of legislation. Is there legislation coming in for the people, for the Diocese of Steubenville?
That was the one I did under economic development, sorry.
Okay. That will conclude the sunshining of legislation from the members of council. We will now move into public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Yes, sir, I got some complaints, and I don't know who to start
Would you please state your name?
Jeffrey Byers, B-Y-E-R-S. Address 4313 Earl Drive, apartment B6. I've had trouble recently and over the years, and I'm having the same trouble. One person tells me to call the police department. The police department tells me to call the fire department. The fire department tells me to call the health department. The health department says, won't come to my house. He says, go and do some kind of thing where, forget the name of it, go fill paper out and pay your rent at the courthouse till they fix the things. Well, the other night, we had a big rain and water come in, and my landlord never fixed the drain system. Well, I was 10 seconds away from being killed. The whole ceiling fell down, and I'm supposed to be living there when I have no ceiling, and I got everything up here is soaking wet. My whole apartment stinks. I've been getting sick. I've been throwing up. Now I'm supposed to go live here tonight. And I asked him, when is this supposed to be done? He said, I'm supposed to be inconvenienced for a while. I mean, I go to people and I can't get nowhere. It's like, why even try? And then if you do something, the landlord holds your rent. You know, when you rent somewhere, when it comes time to collect your deposit, you can't get it. There should be a law that you have 30 days to move into, because if you walk in, you look around, oh, things look good, you take it. But what about, why don't you come in 30 days? If you don't like it, you see everything that's wrong with it that you don't see when you walk around. You should have 30 days to opt out of your agreement.
I believe your concerns are really with your landlord, the owner of the property. However, the city of Steubenville does have established a fair housing commission. I think that would be an appropriate complaint to forward to the Fair Housing Commission against your landlord. There are seminars throughout the year, I don't know when the next one is, for tenant landlords relationships. However, that's administered through our community development office, and the number is 283-6000, the general number to the city of Steubenville. The extension number is 1700-1700. You can ask for Karen or Chris. They might be able to take that complaint. However, and I'm not an attorney, but I believe this is directly with your landlord and you, and I would be speaking to an attorney too, especially if you're getting sick. He might advise you to hold your rent each month or something. I don't quite know.
Well, I've been putting up with this for a long time. I'm going to tell you how bad it is. I'm moving out next month, and I'm trying to make ways, but not make ways. You understand what I'm talking about. It is so bad that I'm going up to Lisbon and live in a tent for 3 months because I'm moving out of the area that I can't sign a lease for a year. I'm going to live in a tent because I do not want to live in none of these apartments because the landlords around here are all slumlords. And I believe the unions ought to come up with something that I just mentioned. You have 30 days. You go in there and you find out what's wrong. Now you signed a lease. You can't get out. I went up to Toronto last year. I stayed in an apartment for 15 days and left. It stunk so bad. I called the police department up. I said, I think they got a meth lab underneath me. You know what? Too bad. So I'm out 600. I was out 850. I stayed there 15 days. I couldn't take it no longer. And then I told her I used the stove. She's got a gas stove. I says, the pile doesn't work. She says, well, get a match and stick it in there and light it like that. instead of fixing it. I mean, when you go into an apartment, you don't know this stuff don't work.
Mr. Guerrero.
Jeff, that's been a long way from that is between you and the landlord. What you have to do is get your check, take it down to the judge, put it in escrow, tell them you're not gonna pay the rent until things get done. And that's a problem all over the city.
But ain't I right? Shouldn't you
You're
have
right,
a
but it's
30-day clause?
You're right, but
You
it's
know,
not the
if
city's
people
job.
win,
It's not the city's job. It's between you and the property owner. You judge the check, give it to Fair Appellate or the judge.
Or don't pay it. I mean, I'm not gonna pay rent.
Yeah, but then I don't pay the rent, and I go to rent somewhere else, and this guy gives me a bad reference.
Your Honor, I'd be happy to talk to this gentleman after the meeting and certainly get your information, get it to Chris Petrozzi, our planning director. That really is the fair housing angle of it. It certainly is it's a private agreement between you and.
Yeah, but ain't it awful, you gotta go clear unless you wanna live in a tent, because you don't wanna live in one of these apartments.
But I can get your
And you're paying
information.
$600 and I'm supposed to be inconvenienced?
Let me, if I can, get your information.
Okay, I appreciate it, sir.
We'll at least get you to the fair housing.
Thanks, Mr. DeLoretta.
There's always my horse, Jeff.
All right.
Okay, we'll talk.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Tony Dearlock, Boulevard, 198. I just have a question about the microphone system. Like, you guys spend our money and it never works. Is there, can you fix it? We were late getting the video uploaded this week from last week. So I went on the city website, tried to listen. You cannot hear anybody except Greg because his microphone worked. You couldn't hear anybody that stood here and spoke. Can you guys make sure they have batteries, or is it something besides batteries?
We can look into it. Batteries are always helpful, and they certainly need to.
I bring batteries.
I think we have battery issues.
But why don't they ever have batteries in them?
Ask them, I have batteries every week. They're
Try.
I think we'll-
It's really, really hard to understand. And I have
See
a
if we can do
question,
that.
the joint finance utility meeting, when is that?
That is this Thursday at 4:30.
Is there a reason it's Thursday at 4:30 in the Pugliese Room? That's unusual. That's the car cruise, the first car.
Chairman is out here, he's the one who calls me.
I know, but you guys are always telling us that we should partake in the community events and that, and then you're having this somewhere where we won't fit because it's really small over there. But I plan on being there with my camera, and I'm rallying as many people to make a point because the perception is you don't want us there. And, well, I mean, that's the perception. Perception's everything, especially in this city. I mean, it looks like you're trying to keep us away. You're having it during a community event. It's going to be a long one. The last one was over 2 hours because it's a joint. That's an important meeting that everybody should go to, regardless of the day, time, and place. And bring a friend, just to make the point that we're going to still come.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address. Not Mr. Davis.
Thursday.
Well, if there's no further business before this council, I move that we adjourn.
Been ready to move to the second that we adjourn. Roll call.
Mr. Gallagher? Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Loretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson? Ms. Curdo? Aye. Mr. Call?
Aye.
So moved.